Please welcome Peter from RapidMiner.
Thank you, Julia. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. What a pleasure to be here. Of course, I've got a broken foot, so I wish I was 100%. I'm 98%. That's what happens when you age. I'm from Boston. The company's headquartered here in Dortmund initially, but has moved its headquarters to Boston. I've got 3 objectives today. The first is to help you understand that predictive analytics is absolutely game-changing. The time is now. It will be embedded in every business process in every industry globally. My second objective is to help you understand why we're number 1. We have created a disruptive paradigm shift in how we monetize predictive analytics with our customers in a win-win scenario. And then lastly, my objective is to help you understand how we're applying modern, viral go-to-market to drive customer success across the board. It looks like we've got, this is not the actual presentation. I'm wondering if we could, Renee, I sent you a presentation. I wonder if you could use that one. This is not the right one. Is it possible to switch? It would be version 2, Renee. I could show you slides of my kids over the summer vacation, but well, really I just have 2 dogs. After the teenage years, they abandon you, right? You know, all parents know that.
Il était là tout à l'heure?
Okay, fantastic. Let me
Et t'as son
go back.
numéro de
Okay,
téléphone?
so first and foremost, we're very pleased. Thank you for that, Renee. First and foremost, we're very pleased that Gartner
Je sais même pas à quoi il
has
ressemble, en fait.
recognized us as number 1. We are in the leaders quadrant with 2 multi-billion-dollar behemoths, SAS and IBM. And what we have done is to radically simplify the predictive analytics process so that we make it easy to mash up data in your customer data with any other data. We make it very easy to run and identify predictive algorithms that spot complicated patterns, and then to deploy it downstream into further critical business processes. So predictive analytics is a very strong paradigm shift from traditional legacy approaches, which are statistical in nature. In the old way, you would take a small set of sample data and then you would try and draw the broadest possible inference from that sample data. In today's modern approach, you can actually use all the data, and the more data, the more accurate your predictive insights. But just like the dog that chases the car, once you have a predictive insight, once you catch the car, you actually need to do something with it. Insight without action has no value. So we've thought of a way in our platform to be able to easily embed or operationalize predictive insights with downstream prescriptive actions. One example of this is PayPal. Here, of course, tremendously successful client before RapidMiner, and obviously doing quite a lot in customer retention. But by being able to mash up not just all of their omni-channel touch points with their existing customers, but to fold in external social data and indeed competitors' data, we were able to help them more granularly predict why customers are churning. You could churn because of social reasons. Other people are adopting alternative payment systems. You could churn because of price reasons. You have a high sensitivity to other types of offers from other competing providers, or you could churn due to quality issues. Each one of those would require very different downstream prescriptive actions, and we've helped them materially change their customer win-back rates. I think if we abstract from that one example in a big data context, we can see that predictive analytics is game-changing because of strategic and tactical reasons. If you look at the upper right, the ability to marry a predictive insight, a customer is going to churn because other people in the social network have left this user base, has an ability to materially alter what that customer is going to do. You can actually change the trajectory of that customer retention. That's competitive advantage. On the lower right, agility, time to market, being able to materially arrive at predictive insights in days, not months, can materially impact how the business begins to interact with its customer experience management. On the lower left, cost takeout and productivity, being able to leverage all of the existing investments in data sources, in business intelligence systems, and indeed downstream infrastructure can really help immediately change how an organization functions. And then lastly, every single one of our clients is struggling under an avalanche of data. How do you turn that data into a strategic asset and monetize the priceless insights that are hidden? And that's what our platform does. As I've mentioned before, we have significant customer traction. All of those customers are enjoying those types of transformational ROIs in every single sector. I think the go-to-market, though, is less about serving all use cases in every sector. We've really narrowed our aperture to just marketing and customer analytics or deep personalization or revenue ROI. Now, of course, that spans multiple verticals. But in terms of a targeted or a named account basis, we're highly focused on the lower left, the financial services sector, particularly retail financial services firms and insurance companies. And obviously in those cases, when you speak to the chief data officer or the chief analytics officer, when times are good, customer upsell. The second times are bad, risk begins to dominate their thinking. And all of our clients can benefit from operations efficiencies. So revenue ROI, risk mitigation, operational efficiency. Predictive analytics spans every one of them. The market is $3 to $5 billion if we just look at the two entrenched incumbents. We're overthrowing that tyranny by not just catering to the small universe of coding level data scientists, but extending predictive analytics into a much broader universe of business analysts, or what Gartner would call citizen data scientists. People who are data savvy, very close to their business, but they don't code. And by focusing on this universe, which is 5 times faster, what we've been doing to radically disrupt how the incumbents charge is we've been able to marry incremental monetization in a win-win with our customers, so that prototyping can happen for free, or if you'd like a little bit of enterprise support, you can pay us. They're very light user charges on a per user basis. Typically in a process, an analyst will mash up prototype data and will look at hundreds of candidate models to identify the one that's the best predictor. That analyst will then go back and substantiate that model against production data, in which case they can come back and look for computation capabilities. And then lastly, if you have 600,000 households that you're targeting as golden households for your next product launch, you're probably not going to want to do that manually. You're probably going to want to charge, or you're probably going to want to embed that in some operational system and come back to us for a deployment server to automate that. And so that type of monetization that's incremental, coupled to this very simplified product packaging, has really begun soliciting tremendous customer uptake. So you can license the server to collaborate, compute, or deploy. You can get it on-premise or in the cloud, native in Hadoop, a very common big data approach. And then the studio or the designer licenses for free, or ultimately for an enterprise version and support. There's really a lot of meat on the bone. I'm not going to get deep into all of the differentiation. Suffice it to say that there are 4 drivers. We are code-free and effortless, drag and drop. Wisdom of the crowds is a tremendous benefit. We actually take our open source community and give you real-time guided analytics based on what you're doing, based on what the community best practice is. We can embed any predictive insight in any downstream system, and we have a modern approach that leverages external partners who are innovating, not just our coders, in Budapest and Dortmund. Tremendous advantages relative to an entrenched incumbent legacy approach. The second to last slide is how we're disrupting the go-to-market. We, of course, do sales, marketing, direct, indirect, channel partners, and all the rest, but our viral community engagement is a linchpin of how we're overthrowing the incumbents. What you see here are textbooks based on RapidMiner that are published every year. We've become the de facto platform of choice in every university globally to teach students about modern data science. We're harnessing that community engagement coupled to all of those use cases to move to an accelerated R&D where we're able to adapt our platform to the broadest universe possible of data sources, algorithms, and downstream systems. And together with our community, we're able to step on the gas in a very cost-effective way. So lastly, to sum up, don't just believe me, believe Gartner. Gartner talks about the time is now. You know, we've reached the tipping point. Data visualization has become ubiquitous, but all dashboards can do is tell you what's happened in the past. They cannot tell you what will happen, nor can they help you take competitive advantage on what you should do given that future scenario. Thank you for your time.
Marco.
Thanks, Peter. Quick question. Can you give us a highlight? So where are you in your global journey on the company?
Sure. We have, so probably 50% of our business is in Europe, probably 40% in the US, 10% in Asia right now. We have several hundred clients. We're adding clients daily. I took over as CEO in May with my team. We have, in that time frame, probably 100 or more partners that have signed up, everyone from the global delivery organizations like Pricewaterhouse to very boutique, highly regionalized or specialized systems integrators that really have strong intellectual property in a particular use case or vertical. We've been OEM'd or included in quite a few clients, and so large telco carriers that run their own customer experience management analytics on demand for their customers are really leveraging our platform under the hood to derive predictive insights. So early days, but making good progress.
There are quite a few firms out there playing in that domain, and we also looked into several. Quick question, would you say your platform or your toolkit is easier to use? Is it faster? Or is it more comprehensive? Is it better to integrate with a data source? So what really sets
I like
your
all
platform?
of those. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Let's pile on. So I think, so first and foremost, I think the ease of use is absolutely the number one, and you noticed in our differentiation slide that that I kind of didn't get into all the meat on the bone, but I mentioned that we have effortless predictive analytics. And so a code-free visual drag and drop platform is materially different than virtually any other approach in this space. And you mentioned a couple of other factors as well. We actually have significant underlying data science as well, because other approaches have traditionally used interpolation and sampling methods. We actually cover more than 90% of every known algorithm in data science. The next closest competitor is probably below 50%. And then thirdly, in terms of competitive advantage, most of the approaches up until now have really just focused on the data science, solving the problem. What is that complex association or multidimensional correlation in this data? But they haven't thought about operationalization, which is what do you do once you catch the car? Who's going to drive it? Where are you going to drive it to? How do you take advantage of a predictive insight and marry that to a prescriptive action? Just because we know all of the golden households in Belgium with the best affinity to purchase our new coffee SKU launch, do you want me to transcribe 600,000 Excel rows? Or should we move that into the call center and the Marketo and HubSpot downstream marketing systems in order to automate the life cycle of engagement with that customer segmentation? So operationalization is another third area of very significant differentiation. All three that you mentioned.
Okay,
Great.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Peter.